All right, now that we've talked about all the beginning stages, and I would again repeat these to your students, we're now going to talk about sound production, and it all begins with the stroke. As I mentioned before, we can use fingers, we can use arms and all of that, but later, right at the very beginning, I always focus on a wrist stroke, and I have it look something like this. There is some sympathetic movement here, of course, but the majority is here. I call it dribbling a basketball and not like pumping a basketball. So no arm movement, no finger movement, just this. Then grab a stick. And if you do this with your students, especially going between wrist motion and with a stick, you're going to see instant results because they're applying exactly what you said immediately. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about exercises that can get your students going in the right direction. One of the very first ones that I use is called stick control. And this term stick control gets thrown around a lot in our world. It comes from a book by George Lawrence Stone, self-entitled that, and it deals with changing sticking patterns, meaning left or right, and trying to keep a consistent sound no matter what is going on. So, stick control. What I've done, however, is I've taken that stick control and a little bit of what I found in the Mark Wessel's book, and I've taken away the 8th notes, I've turned them into 16th notes, and I've erased all the rhythms from the pages and just left stickings. So you'll see if you go to my website, RLRL, LRLR, just like you would see in your beginning percussion books. I found also that this works really well with university students and honestly myself. So what we're going to do is this. If you look at the music, the first thing you see is a grouping of 4 sets of 4 16th notes. We are going to start our metronome, which we always have with us, at around 40 BPMs with full subdivisions on, so 16th note subdivisions. I have a little bit of a beep at the very beginning to show us where 1 is, just to kind of get the students feeling 4-bar phrases. And then we are going to repeat everything we've already talked about. So, with our checkoff list on their page, we are going to write grip. Check the grip. Match the sticks, number 2. Then we're going to set our V, or arrowhead, making sure to separate it by a quarter. Now, the last step we do before we actually play is I remind them that their palm should be facing their opposite foot, or that thumbnail should be heading towards this direction opposite of the thumb. Okay, so now I like to start with the sticks in an up position. This is just by preference, and here's why. I want the students to feel what it's like to have the sticks start here, have gravity take control, drop, and come back to the same position. Drop, come back to the same position. It's okay to start here, but there's always a little bit of a prep, and honestly, I just don't like to work hard. If you're here and I say the word drop, just drop. It's almost as if you're a puppet, I strung you up, and I cut the strings. That's what I normally say to my students. And what we're looking for here is not a flick motion. We're not trying to get that motion. We're trying to get a nice drop sound. If you want to call it legato, that's totally fine. So now, if we're looking at our exercise, you'll see 4 groupings of 4 16th notes, and you'll see number 1, 2, 3, 4 in the first column. That's what I'm going to play for you. And you'll notice stickings. R, L, R, L, L, R, L, R, 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 L, 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 R, R. Those are the patterns that I'm going to play. After they get through this, what I do is I go back and we work on one extra thing, endurance. So whatever the last sticking is on each grouping, I'm going to have them hold that out for a full measure. So a full count of the 4 bars of 4 16th notes, or 4, you know what I'm saying. So here is the first 4 numbers in the Dobbs stick control. Our metronome will be set at 40. after some time, when a student really gets into the stick control exercises, you'll notice that every column begins with a bolded line. That bolded line means to increase the tempo. And I don't do this at the very beginning. After they get to know the stickings and they're comfortable and they're really focusing on playing with the metronome and watching their hands, we add a final step, which is speed. So if you look at it carefully, there's 6 columns. That's 5 to 6 times they can increase the tempo. So by the end of their exercise, they're working on 3 aspects: evenness of stroke, no matter what the sticking, speed, and endurance.